Welcome back to Organic Cardboard. My name is Owen Kneep, and today I'm coming to you not live, but pre-recorded from the Fun K-Town board game convention here in my hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee. And so I am very privileged today to get to sit with Kinson Games. These are the designers of one of the latest Kickstarter games, just finished not too long ago, a couple months ago, right? Yeah, on Pledge Manager at the moment. And that's Galactic Cruise. So if you haven't heard about Galactic Cruise, I don't know where you've been at. This is like one of the biggest games that's been out, and certainly in the year, I would think. So, let's just start off easy. So you guys have been here this is the end of the third day at this point. We've been doing this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend, and end of April. And what has your experience been showing the game off to everybody? How's the reception been? How have you felt just in general over the course of this little game convention that we're at this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's been great. Like, this is Colton and I's second time at Fun K-Town. We came last year for the first time. Dennis's first, so maybe he can speak to his first experience. Right. But today we ran 3 full games, and yesterday we ran 3 full games.
That's a lot.
And it is. But it's nice to have 3 of us instead of just one, because if one person runs 3 games back to back, it's awful. But if you have 3 people doing it, it's much easier and less demanding on the brain. But yeah, people seem to really enjoy it. We got to go, through a full game, so people got to see the whole game, final scoring, and all of that. And it's been great.
Yeah. So what is so in general though? Have you had like a lot of people that are just like their brains are broken at the end of it, or do you feel like everybody in general by the end of it has got it, kind of down packed, feels intuitive? They felt like they knew what they were doing and kind of went along with the game. Maybe I would imagine a lot of people that would be like a little intimidated about coming to a game this big. And then they sit down and play it with you guys, and you guys kind of show them, because I feel like by the end of it, everything is pretty intuitive. Everything flows together. It's a lot of rules at first. It's like about a 30-minute teach, you'd say, right? Yeah. And but by the end of it, everything seems to make total sense. Has that been the experience you've had with the people that you've been playing with?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's been the experience. Is people will sit down and say, "This looks like a lot," or people will walk by the table and say, "Oh, that's too much." But then by the end of the teach and by the end of a few rounds of play, I feel like people say, oh, "Okay, it makes sense." You do, it is fairly procedural. You're getting your blueprints so you can install them, so you can launch your shuttles. And then by the end, people are like, "Well, it was a lot of rules at the start, but it was, it's pretty smooth sailing once you have a grasp on them."
Yeah. Well, I know that was my experience of it. So this is the first time I've gotten a chance to play it. I know you do have it on Tabletop Simulator as well. Yeah, correct. Yeah, and I found it to be like, one, it's just super enjoyable. It's a very good game, so I'll just put that out there from the get-go. It's anytime you're sitting down to one of the, and like this is kind of like you get it kind of compared to like a kind of Lacerda style game or whatever. You got this kind of a lot of pieces that are integrating together, and you're able to it all kind of makes sense as you're going through it. So it's a lot of information to start off with, but really like comes together at the end in a way that doesn't feel like I didn't feel like my brain was broken at the end. By the end of it, I felt like I knew exactly what I was doing, know what I'm going for, and so that's great. I think you guys have just really knocked it out of the park in general with the game. And I'm sure this isn't the first time that you've heard that. One of the main things I wanted to ask about too was like, so this is like not only is not just like literally like kind of like a bigger game, but like a really big entry to put yourselves in the board game space. This isn't your very first game, but this is a game that is like your first really, like it's the first one that you guys are going to be really well known for, of course. And the first really serious game that's come out from you guys, and that, like, putting out that, like, first off, you got one of the best artists for the game as well. You got, really well designed, really well play tested, really well received. So, what is it that gave you guys like the drive or the gumption to put out this, and like serious of a game for essentially your first game?
I think it was kind of a slow build, right? Because from the beginning, you say this often. It's like if you would have asked us 3 years ago, if we would have thought it would have been as big or if we'd had tool, we would have probably said no. Yeah. We'd been like, oh, that'd be really cool, but it's like I don't think we'll be able to do it. But like as we slowly built the community and played the game, and realized that it's a game that people are really loving and enjoying, and that we loved, it just slowly became a thing of like, well, if we're going to do it, why not do it as good as we can? And that was like every step of the way. So it was like when we started working on development, it's like, well, why don't we just play test the heck out of this with as many people as we can, get designer input so it can be as great as it can be. And then when we started on the art, it's like, well, why not do this as good as it can be? And then when we got to our marketing, and so it's like every step of the way, it's like, if we're going to do it, let's take our time and do it right. And so it kind of slowly developed into that, as opposed to just from the beginning. I don't think we ever expected it to, be, what it was.
I think it's harder to break in as well without, like, we needed to make a big splash.
Right.
If we wanted to do, like, we want to be a real publisher that we're going to publish more than just our own games. And so if you start small and can kind of build up, I mean, there definitely are many cases where that people are successful doing that. But if you want to, like, get right in and like immediately start doing this full time and like have a real publishing company or something, we knew we had to do something big. Right. We couldn't just release something with, just some random art that we made or something. We wanted to make a big splash and like make a name for ourselves.
Yeah, and you certainly have. And what's that experience though been like as far as like the stress level? Has it felt like it's just all kind of come about more or less organically? Obviously, you got to put the work into it, but do you feel like there's been like some real struggles with it, or has it just been like procedurally one kind of thing after the next? How have your feelings been during the whole process?
Super easy, never any problems. It's dead simple.
Right.
No, I think the biggest takeaway, like that we've tried to implement and have learned to like be very aware of, is like things take a long time.
Right.
It's like, and a lot of times you'll see early designers or new publishers just rush to get to Kickstarter, either rush the art or rush the marketing or whatever. And, that'll cause some hiccups or delays or, fundings having to be canceled or things like that. And it's like our thing has just been go really slow. And so I think that's probably been the most stressful part. It's just like, okay, like we're going to have to put I think our initial Kickstarter estimated launch date was like October of 2022.
Probably, yeah. Because we started designing in 21, so we're like, 1 year of development.
Yeah, it'll be on Kickstarter in 2022. Yeah. And then it was like, well, maybe it'll be 2023. And then it's like, finally, it's 2024. And so just like, I think that's been the most stressful thing. It's just like having to be patient,
right?
And wait.
Right. So you're saying it's been about 3 years of development?
Our first play test was May of 21.
Okay.
So I think it's almost been exactly 3 years from like the first time it was ever played.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, that's still not too bad of a turnaround though, especially again as developed as it is at this point. And you guys, so currently this is is this the 28th of April, I believe is today. You are on so you're open for late pledges. So you got the pledge manager open, late pledges, and it's at this point, where are you at with the process as far as like the actual production of the game, where you're expecting it to be arriving to people's doorsteps, and anything that you might think that could be potential like challenges along the way that you might be dealing with?
Yeah, so I know Ian is finished with, or is like finishing up like a couple of tweaks as far as like the final files that we'll be submitting. But we've been in constant contact with our manufacturer. We already kind of have like the logistics ball rolling. So kind of our next step in the next week or so, I guess, is like getting those pre-production files ready so we can get the pre-production copy, make sure that we can kind of sign off on everything, and then move into mass production pretty shortly after that. Our Kickstarter estimate was fulfillment February of 25, and I think that's a still a very attainable end goal. We'd love to have it before then, but these things take time to make and get across the ocean and get out to people. So, so early next year it should be out in the world.
Yeah, and that's a excellent time frame, anyways, because the kicks. What was the? I wish I could know it off the top of my head. What was the end of the Kickstarter date?
I think it was April 3rd.
April 3rd.
March 4th to April 3rd.
Yep.
Should have been.
So you're looking at less than a year completion. So if anything, over the past few years or whatever that people have been dealing with Kickstarters, that's a pretty good turnaround. So I don't think that's anything to feel like is if anything, you talk about taking a lot of time. That's pretty prompt as far as I'm concerned. If I see a Kickstarter done in a year, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
So did you guys? Did you feel like you had that plan though? I know we spoke a bit about it before, that you wanted to come to Kickstarter with essentially a complete game, right? And then, so you're kind of expecting from the start of the Kickstarter then too that you were going to have that in people's hands within a year, correct?
Yeah, one of the biggest things was because we wanted to bring a finished game, that meant we weren't going to do stretch goals or things that would add content or require additional art. And so that was something going in we knew we didn't want to do, because a lot of that times that can delay the game, either because it's got to be play tested or new art's got to be drawn. And so just by having a finished game that we're not adding to really kind of helps speed up that timeline.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a very smart approach, I think. So how are you guys dividing up? So you're all three co-owners of this company, Kinson Key Games. How do you divide up the the projects, the parts of it? Who's gonna contact Ian, who's gonna contact whoever else that you might be dealing with as far as any other design, and parcel that out, or do you just kind of say, hey, I need this done, who wants to do it? How's that go about?
It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
We all do. We don't necessarily have really strict roles. We do a lot of everything, but it's TK does a lot of the stuff. For Ian specifically, I think only TK is really emailing him.
Yeah.
We've had meetings with all of us before, but I think emailing, he's usually doing that.
Right.
And when I'm dealing with the lawyer, it's I'm always doing that. Things like that. But overall, marketing, responding to a lot of emails, TK is doing that mainly. And this might change over time too, because Colton's still doing his regular job for the next month.
Oh, fun.
That's right.
But then after that, we're all going to be full time and be able to do a lot more. So we don't strictly have specific roles. We do a lot of everything. But there's certainly things that we focus on. Colton is more of a writer. I do a lot of I guess not as much now, but I was doing playtesting during the day online. The rule book and stuff was something that I was doing. So we do divide things, but it's not necessarily this particular thing I always do and this particular thing TK always does.
Yeah, it's a lot of the task. It's hey, these are the 3 things we have to do this week.
Yeah.
Why don't you do this? I'll do that. And it is dependent a lot on time, right? And who has the extra time to work on certain things, but I'm sure it will get more specific over the next year.
Yes.
We might kind of just fall into those roles over time, but yeah.
Cool. So you guys right now, TK and Dennis, you are not working on anything other than Kinson Key Games. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
And then, so what is your current job at the moment?
So I'm a 4th grade teacher.
Oh, cool.
So we're finishing out the school year, and then come June I am jumping in both feet.
Yeah.
As it is, I probably do 15 to 25 hours a week, I would say, doing stuff like Kinson Key, but it kills me during the day though, because I'll check my phone during my break, and there's 30 messages between them of stuff they're doing, and I'm just I'm here at school, so I'll text back, be sounds great, guys, have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd imagine like as you get so in general with like the dividing up of labor, it's just something that's kind of coming about naturally with you guys as things come up. You do it with the time that you have. Maybe giving Colton a little bit of a break since he's dealing with the school stuff at the same time.
Yeah. And since my background is in writing, like I can get stuff written up pretty quickly. So TK will sometimes be like, "Hey, can you write up this thing?" And I'll be like, yeah, and I'll be like, "Hey kids, do this worksheet," and I'll write it up real quick, send it over, and I just churn it out really quick. So, which is nice about being a teacher is like we do have breaks and we do have like built-in days we can take. So I still get to go to a lot of the important things, but some of the day-to-day stuff I have to miss out on for the next month or so, and then we're all in.
Yeah, but still highly involved either way, I'm sure. So now you guys have been doing quite a bit of like marketing in general, getting this game out, trying to do it right, trying to get everybody's eyes on it, and everything like that. And so not only eyes but ears. I've heard you guys on quite a few podcasts recently. And they've been going over a lot of just the general background, so I might brief a little bit of that. And I'd say so you two had been friends before. How long have you guys known each other?
Birth?
Lifelong, yeah.
Yeah, so lifelong friends. You've been working on games and projects and just whatever together naturally. And then so you decide that, hey, let's make this big board game. We got this big idea. We want to do this big thing. You go off to these designer conventions, and you meet Dennis, and so you guys become friends. Dennis is helping play test the game quite a bit with you, and at some point, Dennis becomes so involved with the game that you end up saying, "Hey, I think you're basically working on this with us. We want you to be part of the company." Now, from my perspective, looking at that, I feel like that's a big step. Bringing Dennis in when you guys obviously lifelong friends. You've had that big long relationship. At what moment did you say okay, let's bring Dennis into the fold, because that's again a big decision.
Yeah. So it was a very kind of slow process of he played the game, enjoyed it, and then played it online with us on Tabletop Simulator, and then would hang around after to just discuss feedback and how to make things better. And so at some point I think he just really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah.
And so, he started playing it more and then kind of helped develop it more. And so at some point we were like, oh, he's like a developer of the game.
Yeah.
And then it just got to a point, I feel like we were at a convention or something where we just all kind of were talking and agreed that it's just like he has so much in it now that it's he deserves to have his name on the box. And so that was the next step. And then as far as him coming onto the company, I think he approached us and was just like, "Hey, I love what you guys are doing." He was like, "I would love to invest in the company." He's like, I don't necessarily have to be involved. He's like, "If you don't want me involved," but he's like, "I think what you guys are doing is great, and I think it's going to be successful." So he's like, "I want to be a part of it." And because we had been working with him so much, we were just like, "No, we want to work with you.
Yeah.
We don't want you to be a silent partner. We want you to be somebody who's really heavily involved." And so it just got to a point to where, we brought him on and wanted to work with him full time, as opposed to just being, just somebody on the sidelines, because we loved working with him, loved developing. And so, I don't know if you want to say anything, but
I think that pretty much covered it. But yeah, in the early days, I just played it. I liked the game a lot. And then playing on TTS, it's kind of something that I like doing is just trying to abuse something or break something in a game. So a lot of times, whenever you guys came up with "Hey, we're trying this new thing," and you tell me about it, and half the time I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna break that." You describe it, and you're like, "Okay, that is not gonna last."
Yeah.
So, but I don't mention anything. We play the game, and then you see, you're like, "Okay." Yeah. So So I definitely, when we started, I had no intention of getting involved with the game, really. We were just friends. I liked playing it. I play tested all sorts of people's games all the time, but just over time, it was just the sessions after a play test of just hanging out and talking about game design, and then specifically solving problems with Galactic Cruise. I was just doing it just as a friend, But then over time, it just seemed to be like, this seems like a really good fit. And then, yeah, like they said, I said, yeah, like if you're looking for investing, then I would love to be in part of that, but I didn't want to mess with a good thing. Like if there wasn't if it was just working better with the two of them, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Like I'll keep doing what I'm doing. And, but yeah, it worked out. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So what were you doing at the time? Work, for work and.
So I was actually already doing game design full time.
Okay.
So I left a previous job to pursue this full time. Like so I was basically like I was already going in feet first, going all the way in and trying to make it work. So I originally was not going to be a publisher. Like me personally, I knew that I wouldn't be able to do this myself. I was not going to be a publisher. I was just looking to pitch games. So that's why I was at ProtoATL. I was looking to meet other designers, I guess, partially, but I was mainly there to meet publishers. And so I was looking to pitch the games that I was working on and just met them through there. And I would definitely never be doing this on my own. It's only because there's three of us that have different skill sets that it was like, this makes sense for all three of us to be there. But I was not looking to be my own publisher because I knew the marketing and everything that's involved in that. So I don't really do that stuff. Like it's just not for me. I don't like being on Facebook. I'm like not really on there much at all. So that's why a lot of people know TK because he's like talking to everyone on Facebook and then meet me in person. Like I like going to things in person, but on Facebook I don't really do anything on there. Yeah. So I knew what was required to do this, and without other people on the team that could do that, like I knew I wasn't going to succeed as that. So I just liked the design side. But now, I do like being involved in the publishing side as well, as long as someone else is doing the marketing.
Yeah, it's a lot for one person to look to publish. And it's like I see, you get those rare people every now and then. You'll see somebody that's like kind of publishing stuff on their own. They still can't do it on their own. They always have some other people with them as well. But very cool. So you now, Dennis, were you working with any particular publishers, or were you just in general designing games at home and then bringing these out to pitching them to just various publishers, seeing if any of them grabbed onto anything?
So I started making a game just for fun. So the first game that I designed, I've been playing games. I have a game group that I play with every Saturday. But obviously not this past, if I'm away or something, but most of the Saturdays of the past 16 plus years, we've been playing games at my house. So I've been playing games solidly a long time. We play heavy games, we play all sorts of stuff. And so I've been playing games for a long time, and then about maybe 5 years ago now, I don't know, I was like, I'm gonna make my own game. And so I worked on a game, was just making it for fun. I wasn't planning on, changing careers or anything like that. And I brought it to, I was going to Protospiel Minneapolis. And I had been there a couple of years just for fun. I wasn't even going as a designer. I just went down there to play people's games. And I brought the game with me, and one of the publishers that was there was like, this is really good. Like, you should pitch this. And I literally was like, what does that even mean? I was like, oh, okay. I just made this game for fun. So then I started looking into pitching games. And that's when I found ProtoATL. I was like, this is great. This is exactly what I want to do. And this was 2020. And so I was going to ProtoATL 2020, but then of course it got postponed for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So during that time, so the game that I made there, and then those 2 years leading up to ProtoATL, I was just doing testing in person with my game group. So I actually we'd played other stuff on TTS before, but I wasn't using it for prototyping at all. I was always playing in person with physical stuff. So I would just make a new version of my game for our game stay. We'd play it a bit, and then we'd play published games after. So that was kind of my process there. I wasn't working with any specific publisher or designer. I did end up pitching to some at ProtoATL, and I had some good success in terms of people were interested in it, but then it was it doesn't quite fit our company, but the game's really good. So stuff like that. And then I was still trying to get stuff, pitched with other people while working on Galactic Cruise, and then eventually just shifted, and so I haven't really gone back to those other games, but maybe I'll find a home for them later. So just kind of shifted over time, and yeah, so it was once I heard that it was like, okay, my game is really good and that like somebody should publish this. It's just not for me. Like it's like, oh, my company doesn't publish this type of game, but you should find one that does. That's when I looked into it and just like, I'm gonna do this full time sort of thing and try to make it work. So I was like, I gave myself like a timeline of like, if it's not gonna work in in this many years, then I'll go back to doing something else. But it's like worked out, so now I'm continuing to do it. So
Yeah, definitely. Looks like it is working out at the moment from my perspective, anyways. So yeah, good job. Well, so Dennis is like he's already mentioned, and I know TK's already talked to me about this. He is the one who wins the games. Dennis wins the games, right? So so with Dennis having so much more experience, because you guys only got into the hobby within the past 5 years or so, roughly.
So yeah.
Yeah. So with all of his background experience in playing games, what an excellent playtester to mix in and become part of the development team. So what are some of the kinds of things that you throw at Dennis when you are like trying to see what you can break on the game?
Yeah, so when we have Dennis play something, we sometimes will be like, try to do this as much as possible. Or we may say, don't do this part of the game at all and see if you can still win, to see, are there broken strategies, or are there, is it possible that a player who maybe gets overwhelmed at a big game, who's like, oh, I'm just not going to build developments in this game. I'm just going to build, short shuttles, can that player win? And Dennis has shown that you can win doing whatever strategy you want if you're Dennis. So yeah, we definitely restrict him and then unrestrict him during the playtesting process to kind of see what works, what doesn't work, what works too well, what. We just he's. Sometimes I kind of feel like we treat you like a circus animal. We're like, okay, now do this. Like,
I like it though. Like I feel like I was thinking about it recently, and it was when somebody was. I remember somebody was saying that the first time that they played Galactic Cruise, they scored 225 points or whatever, and I was like, oh, they should see if they could beat Dennis. And I was thinking about it. I was like, do I even know how to play it normally anymore? Like, I need something that I'm like, I can't do that, or I can only do this, or I'm like, what would I actually do if I was just trying to win?
If you had freedom.
Yeah, I could do anything I wanted and just trying to win. I was like, I don't even know how I would play it.
Yeah.
Like I just love testing. Like that's been so fun for me to like try to win and get around restrictions, and do it anyway, and like try to push the system, the rules and the system to its limits to see like how well can you do things if you're trying to be like as efficient as possible. So
very cool. Yeah, I could imagine it kind of reminds me of some of these like when they bring a board game to an app and then they have like challenges that you can do.
Yeah.
So if you guys ever come around years from now and you say, you know what, everybody loves this game so much, let's make an app of it, you should have the Dennis's challenges and see some of those real like constrictions and seeing where that takes you.
Yes, I already have plans for that, and I don't know when this app will come out, but like I already have lots of ideas for an app version.
Cool.
It's going to happen at some point.
Very cool.
No promises to anyone in terms of like timeline, but just like I'm going to make this happen because I love playing certain games on apps as well, like board games. But there will be, even in the board game version, there's going to be like a list of achievements or challenges that you can do and mark them off just for fun. Like just certain things that when you read it, some of them might be like, how is that even possible?
Right.
But they are possible, and you can try to achieve those, and I think that'll add some, some fun for people that want to try to do weird things, or it's like how many people can fit on one shuttle or that sort of thing. So
7. That's the answer.
Yes.
So how many games of this have you played at this point?
I
roughly
don't even know, but it's definitely. Certainly over 100. Is it over 200 now? I'm not sure. If you count games that I've like played where I wasn't playing, but I was like running the game, I think it probably is over 200.
Yeah, and I would say we're 300 or 400.
I'd say so. Yeah.
That's insane. Imagine the hours that it's taken to get to that point, because it took us, well, granted it was our very first play of it, and we finished in, after the teach, we had 4 people, all new to the game, of course, and that was about 4.5 hours, I think
so.
was our play yesterday
And that's
of it.
the smoothest version that's ever existed.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, it was 4 and 5 hours long because something would break in the middle and we would have to, fix it on the fly or import a new card that was bad or whatever. So it's been a lot of hours.
Awesome. Yeah. I know. And I figured that when you said that was the smoothest version, I thought yesterday's probably like the smoothest version because for me, because playing with TK right there, I think I looked at the rules reference like maybe just once because he was in the middle of telling somebody else one of the rules. So it's great to have a designer right there that can teach you the game. And man, like it takes me days sometimes to pick up a game like that, and being able to pick it up in half an hour. That's excellent. So very cool. Well, so at this point, you guys are looking on down the. I know you've got enough on your plate as it is, just finishing up this campaign and getting it done. But on down the road, you're looking first at expansions. Is that correct? Possibly to Galactic Cruise. I know everything's kind of up in the air still, but is that kind of the next approach?
The next thing will be something to kind of go along with Galactic Cruise. Like, we haven't released much information about it. We're still working on it, and so I'm sure there'll be like a big public announcement maybe in the next few months.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that will go along with Galactic Cruise that's hoping to be Kickstarter maybe like end of next year would be kind of the aim for like our next project. And then the next project after that would probably be something outside of Galactic Cruise.
Oh, cool.
Whether that's something we've designed or something we signed, that's still kind of up in the air. But that would be probably 2026.
Yeah.
Would be like something outside of Galactic Cruise.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, guys, I really appreciate y'all, taking the time to sit here and talk with me today. It's been very interesting to hear a little bit of extra background information. Before I let you go, do you guys have a favorite game outside of Galactic Cruise that has perhaps been either an influence to this, or you just love it on its own outside of it?
Yeah.
Okay, I think right now, for me,
It changes
in this moment, I think Paladins of the West Kingdom is my favorite game.
Oh, cool.
Up until a month or so ago, it was Sky Mines, which is the Mombasa re-implementation. If we're talking about strictly 4-player games, it still is Sky Mines. But because I play solo and 2-player a lot, Paladins, I think, edges it out at that player count. And really all of like Shem Phillips and Sam McDonald's games. I'm hoping when I go home today, Ezra and Nehemiah is on my doorstep. It should be delivering soonish. So yeah, I'm gonna say Paladins is my favorite.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I'm due another play to verify because it's been too long. But I say my favorite is On Mars by Vitala Serta. And like I still think it would be because like I love worker placement, love tight worker placement, thematic, integration, like that kind of hits a home run, especially theme-wise. Like I love space, of course, Galactic Cruise stuff. But yeah, so I would say On Mars right now is still my favorite, but I would love to play it again to just be like, okay, yeah, it still is.
Yeah. Very cool. How about you, Dennis?
So my favorite game is Through the Ages, A New Story of Civilization. I absolutely love that game. I can't say that there's anything in Galactic Cruise that really took anything from that game.
Right.
But certainly that is my favorite game that I've played so many times, and that's another one that I think what will inspire me more is like for the app version of Galactic Cruise, because I love the app of Through the Ages. It is like the best way to play, and they have a lot of challenges in there that are so fun that I've played so many times trying to beat my score in those different challenges. So like that's what I want to make for Galactic Cruise.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I've heard that Through the Ages is some of the turns online can take so long for people to do that the app is nice, or where you can do the what do they call it, where you pause the play and let somebody take, like they can take their, it's asynchronous, that's the word. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so very cool. Awesome. Well, again, thank you all so much. Really appreciate you stopping and hanging out with me for a minute, hanging out on Organic Cardboard. And thank you guys, of course, too, for stopping and listening. And if you don't have Galactic Cruise on your radar, get it on your radar. Go to the it's on the late pledges on Kickstarter. I get confused sometimes because I go back and forth between.
You can click the link. It's like pre-orders up.
Right.
And so it's KinsonKeyGames.com/galactic-cruise, I believe, is where you can like find the kind of the pre-order page, or go to the Kickstarter. There's a link there as well.
Link to it. Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome, guys. Well, again, thank you so much. Thank you guys one more time, and we'll see you on the next video, or I will anyways. Maybe we'll see these guys at some point, but thanks again. Y'all take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.